TikTok ban just days away, and today we're going to break down what it means and what it could mean for crypto. Don't miss it. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Let's get started. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is Tangem. If you want to get into self-custody, and you should want to get into self-custody, volatility is not your friend. Get your tokens off of centralized exchanges. Start moving into your own self-custody wallets. And the cool thing about Tangem is they use a nice little credit card. It makes it very easy to set up, and it's super simple. So just use our code down below. Get the discount. All right, let's get into it today. A couple of points I want to hit on right there, 11 days away from the ban. And most likely, there's some key points between now and then, the 19th, before we could see some real action. And I'll get to that and all that in a minute. But this is a pretty significant thing. I think a lot of people are overlooking this right now and the potential it has on crypto. You look at the Google trends, and back in mid-December, this was, of course, when we saw the Supreme Court decision that says it's going to happen. A little bit of slide down. People are not so worried about it. And all of a sudden, it's starting to track back up. So people are getting concerned about the TikTok ban and what it means. We've been covering this for quite some time, guys. I mean, this goes back, gosh, almost 6 months ago, where we've been talking about what the potential is for TikTok and Polkadot and why this means it could be the first Web3 application that really starts to move the market going forward. All right, so this was the letter that Trump sent over to the Supreme Court, basically asking to delay all of this so that they can time for assessment. Further on, you've got Kevin O'Leary out there trying to generate interest to go out and buy TikTok. All of that's happening. Everybody's scrambling here trying to get into this. Now, this is a clip that will give us a little bit of a prediction timeline that O'Leary has and what might be coming true. Take a look.
I'm going to walk you through the timing of what's going to occur. This situation that we have right now is going to come to a head on January 10th. Justice does not want to mess with the will of Congress. They'll push it back to the executive, and then Biden will open the door and say, is anybody here willing to buy this under terms that really fit the order? And I intend to be there with an LOI that Biden can look at and say, this is a viable alternative. I'm going to stay this situation for 90 days to let the company engage with this buyer. That's what's going to happen. But this company is living in a dreamland thinking the Supreme Court of the United States is going to uphold spyware against its American people. Ain't going to happen.
Justice Department, of course, came in and urged the Supreme Court to reject Trump's plan on pausing this ban. Couple of points within this. If you look at this, DOJ said granting Trump's request would equate to a temporary injunction could only be implemented if ByteDance established a likelihood that it would win the case, but that the company had not done so. So there's no chance of the case being won. So that basically throws out Trump's letter. Now you take a look at what's happened now is Kevin O'Leary and Frank Mccourt are now joining forces. Take a look.
We announced that this morning. I have joined with Frank Mccourt to buy TikTok.
All right, so as you can see there, this is the kind of a little bit of alignment, but and the announcement here. Investor Kevin O'Leary joining the people's bid for TikTok. This is Project Liberty. And that is going to be a big factor here. One of the things, though, is that the wonderful TikTok.com, this is where O'Leary was trying to raise capital, will now be folded into the people's bid. So this is all one thing now. And this is good, I think, for in general of getting this deal done. The key that O'Leary was talking about there is they still are going to need the administration's support to get it pulled off. This next clip will get into the value of TikTok and really kind of the plan of what Frank Mccourt and his team are looking to do. Take a look.
The only other person I know who's interested so far comes on this show a lot, Kevin O'Leary. He likes the app, frankly, for the algorithm. What is it about the app that you like? X algorithm.
Yeah, well, Kevin and I have had a number of conversations about this, and I really think that Kevin is starting to see the value in buying TikTok without the algorithm. Personal data is enormously valuable. So let's give people some of that value.
Frank, everything that you're saying sounds totally reasonable. I think at the same time, you've got the president-elect urging the Supreme Court not to ban it, not to hear the oral arguments that you mentioned on the 10th. How does that factor in to your timeline? And have you been talking to the Trump administration at all? Because it sounds like the actual ban from the court is what you need for ByteDance to sell to you.
TikTok currently is spyware disguised as a business. TikTok is banned in China. I mean, think about that. The U.S. TikTok is not allowed in China.
Yeah.
And we need to move the user base over to a clean, made in America stack. And yes, we are going to be having conversations with him, and we already started the outreach to his people.
Excellent. Frank Mccourt, I would just say when you're ready to make the announcement, we're happy to have you make it here on the show.
Americans say that social media companies should make it easier to switch platform. This is very popular. It's popular sentiment out there around. And I think the key here is whether or not Trump is going to go against the idea of this. Because remember, it's kind of that position we've talked about, Trump being a wild card here. We don't really know what he's thinking. Has he done a deal with China to do this, or is he going to hold true to his position in protecting the American data? I think that's the big question here. Now, this next clip will get into a little bit about, can this deal even happen? What would the market do? All that kind of stuff, because I think a lot of people are still surprised about this. Take a look.
But if there is a TikTok ban, and I think the market is really heavily discounting this by more than it probably should, I think the beneficiaries of this are going to be Google, YouTube Shorts, and Reels at Meta.
Who's the bigger beneficiary if the ban goes into effect? And Meta platforms, what's the percentage chance, Mark, that you think this ban actually goes through with TikTok?
I guess it's still a minority chance. So, I don't think it's a probability. It's less than 50% chance. Maybe it's 20, 25%. I'm just struck by talking with investors. There's a belief that there's single-digit percent chance that it goes through.
All right, so you can kind of look at this, and I would say that is kind of an old model of thinking, mainly because the likelihood if this does happen, and there's a good probability this will happen, to protect American, users of the social media platform on TikTok, you have to look at the evolution of where this is going. I don't necessarily, maybe, of course, Meta, Google, YouTube, et cetera, will gain some market share, but I don't know that they're going to gain that much if McCourt's team is successful. You just look at the number of transactions. Frequency is, I'm going to just click that. This is frequency, which is the chain, essentially. Look at the transaction growth that we're already talking about. That's the kind of scenario that are playing into it. And there's a lot of other components here. There's an AI component. We're going to click NeuroWeb, Frequency, and Phala. These are the ones that essentially all ride within the Polkadot. So you can see the growth here, very dynamic. And when you look at the involvement of Phala Network, this is just showing you a lot of the companies that are utilizing this. And the reason is because of this right here. And this essentially is a security mechanism for AI. All of this riding within the Polkadot chain. So this is all good for Polkadot, also good, I think, for crypto in general. Let's take a look also at the top AI and big data. This is tokens by market cap. So if you look down, many of these you're going to recognize. There's Render Protocol right there, Virtuals, we've talked about quite a bit, Near, etc. Then if you scan further on down into it, there's Phala Network right there, which is, let me kind of zoom in on that for you guys. Right there, Phala Network. So holding it around 250 million in terms of market cap. Look at the projects that this potentially could leap should we start to see some of this. There's Ionet, ICP, Injective. Would not take much to be able to really start to climb up the charts here around the AI ecosystem. So a big advantage, one that we're definitely watching closely. The other thing that I want to get into is AI involvement on this. This is a good example right here of AI agents being utilized on social media. This is one good example. We're going to see a lot more of that, especially as we start to see these AI agents start to move out. And of course, Polkadot will be involved in that as well. I want to go to a clip real quick. This will give you an example of how it's being used. Take a look.
$100 of LEA to win among 2 winners. Comment the answer in your Solana wallet to enter. Here's the riddle. In forest I stand without roots, and through time I speak without tongue. What am I? Well, this Christmas I'm feeling a bit generous. I'll be giving some of my particles every day from December 18 until the 31.
Here's a step-by-step guide to setting up a Solana wallet on your phone using the Phantom app.
All right, so those are agents that are going to essentially educate, entertain, become part of the social media narrative out there. And I think that is another major factor going forward. And TikTok, of course, is going to be a very key component within this. You look at Leah right here on Sol, you can kind of see some of the movement just within the agent itself in terms of the token, which is, again, we've talked about AI agents quite a bit. A lot of movement is happening, and it's still very, very early on a lot of these things. So there is so much that is waiting in the wings. Just look at the TikTok account of this particular AI agent. This is one right here. It's got 9.9 million likes, 725,000 followers, and it's just getting started. So if we see a lot more of that, imagine what that would look like in TikTok, where they could onboard people into Web3, possibly into a Polkadot wallet. So that's another major factor going forward. All right, now if you look at gaming on Polkadot, then you got to look at Mythos. There's the chains that are kind of leading the way. Mythos chain right there, number one. Closing in on Solana for daily sales volume. And if you look at the transactions over on Polkadot, let me just click Mythos and go into the selection. Again, more explosion there on Mythos. So this is another one we've been talking about for quite some time that you should be watching and paying close attention to. Let's go into payments on Polkadot. This is where Polkadot starts to fall down. This is the execution side of Polkadot. Not great, totally understand. Take a look at that. You guys probably remember this video. We've played it before. Not well done. If you think about that, and then you look at other chains out there that are executing, well, the one you've got to probably consider is going to be Avalanche. This is the amount of agents, and they haven't even launched a project yet. So the potential here for Avalanche of executing in this area of AI agents is very big. All of that playing into this is going to be huge. The other thing you got to look at right here is this tweet. A lot of inbound interest on AI projects, AI agent on Avalanche. You might want to wait a little bit before they get going here. So with this, it's very possible that AI agents could be the #1 user of social media platforms like TikTok. Remember, we've shown this before, and if you look back at some of our coverage, AI agents are actually becoming the #1 user of crypto in general. That is a major factor going forward. So a lot lining up here, both on gaming, transactional, social media, obviously that all plays into the future of where Web3 is going. We're going to continue to cover this for you guys, try to kind of dial down, especially as we understand what's happening with the ban, if it does go through, and what that timing might be, because still the acquisition is going to take some time for that to occur. But I anticipate Polkadot is probably going to pump on where this is going. If you look at the current chart on DOT, just to give you guys a little bit of a look here, really coming off that top, really around, what was it, 1060, all the way down to where it's trading right now at about 708. So I don't know if this is the place to enter, but it is one thing to consider with all these things on deck around TikTok. All right, if you guys are not in the Diamond Circle, make sure and get in on that. It's a great place to get additional content. Also, make sure and subscribe to the channel. It's very easy to do. All you have to do is click the link down below. And of course, you can actually follow me out there on TikTok, which is official Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.